Thank you very much for joining us once again today. Today we are discussing economic substance regulation notification requirement. In the table of contents, we can see that there are two main areas that we will be discussing. One is high level overview of economic substance regulations. Under this, we'll discuss reasons of implementation of ESR, what is licensee, impact on the branches and compliance requirements. Then we'll go into the notification template. In the notification template, there are different areas. This is licensee detail, branch detail, reporting period, relevant activities, exemptions, ownership information. At the end, we'll discuss the declaration as well. We know this, the reason of implementation of ESR was the loss of revenue to the BEPS. BEPS stand for base erosion and profit shifting. Due to this, there are tax evasion due to BEPS. Then 15 action points were introduced by organizations of economic cooperation and development in G20 countries. There are minimum 4 BEPS standard required to be implemented by each member state of OECD. Out of these 15, 4 minimum standard points are action point 5, 6, 13 and 14. Action point 5 deals with the harmful tax practices. Economic substance is a part of harmful tax practices. UAE, being a member of OECD, UAE had introduced ESR Cabinet Decision 31 of 2019 earlier, but later on it was revised, and revised Cabinet Decision 57 of 2020 were introduced. UAE issued ESR guidance as well in 2019, 215 of 2019, which was later on revised with the ESR guidance 100 of 2020. We know this, that ESR is not applicable on the natural person. We know this ESR is not applicable on businesses which are not earning relevant incomes. We know this ESR is applicable on all legal entities and unincorporated partnerships which are earning relevant income, except those are exempted licensee or falling under the exempted category. We know this exempted entity will have to submit the notification as well. In case they are not submitting the notification, they will be treated like a normal licensee. We had already discussed this chart. We said natural person ESR might be applicable. We discussed that ESR, under the ESR we can see this natural person or licensee, which is a juridical person or unincorporated partnership. We had already decided that ESR is not applicable on the natural person. We had decided there are two possibilities for the juridical person and unincorporated partnership not earns relevant income. In case they are not earning relevant income, ESR will not be applicable on those juridical persons and unincorporated partnerships. Now discuss earns relevant income. In case the juridical person or the unincorporated partnerships, they are earning relevant income, then there is a possibility they are falling under the exempted licensee category. In case they are following the exempted licensee category, we have decided they must submit the notification only. In case they are not submitting the notification, they will be treated like a normal licensee. Then we discussed non-exempted licensee means juridical person and unincorporated partnership. They are earning a relevant income. Then there is a possibility that relevant income not derived during the financial year, they must submit the notification not subject to ESR test and ESR report submission. Moreover, we have discussed non-exempted licensee. In case they are earning the relevant income during the financial year, then they are subject to ESR notification, ESR test and ESR reporting as well. We discussed about the branches as well, that we said there is a possibility that the UAE entity has branches or foreign entity has branches. If UAE entity has branches in UAE, out of scope of ESR, we had already discussed this. If the branch outside of UAE, then we need to look into this. If the income is being taxed out of UAE, then it will be out of the scope, otherwise it will be subject to ESR in UAE. So far as foreign entities are concerned, there is a possibility that the branches are in UAE, that the branches are out of the UAE. If the foreign entity has branches out of UAE, it will be straightforward out of the scope of ESR. If the foreign entity has branches in UAE, then again we need to look into this, that the income of the relevant branches are being subject to tax outside of UAE not. If income is being subject to tax out of UAE, then it will be considered out of scope for UAE ESR law, otherwise it will be subject to ESR in UAE. We had already discussed that the entities which are subject to compliance requirements, they need to submit the notification, they need to fulfill the ESR test compliance, then they need to submit the ESR report as well. Moreover, we have discussed in case the entities are not submitting the notification, fine will be applicable up to 20,000. In case the entities are not complying with the ESR test, then first year penalty will be 50,000. Then immediate subsequent year non-compliance will lead to penalty of up to 400,000. We had already discussed ESR reporting and the related penalties as well. We had already discussed in case correct and false information is being provided, then it will lead to penalty of up to 50,000. Not up to 50,000, of 50,000 dirham. Now need to discuss ESR notification. In our previous discussion, we had discussed that every licensee and exempted licensee is subject to a notification. We had concluded that notification must be submitted on the electronically portal that will be required to be issued by the Ministry of Finance. We had decided notification must be submitted within 6 months from the end of the relevant financial year. A notification by exempted licensee must be submitted and it must be accompanied by the sufficient evidence to substantiate the exempted licensee status. Where exempted licensee is not submitting notification, then exempted licensee will be required to meet the ESR test like a normal licensee that we had discussed as well. Now the notification template that has been issued, these are the different areas of the notification template. First is licensee detail, then branch detail, then there is a reportable period, in the relevant activities. In the E, they are discussing the exempted licensee. In the F section, they are discussing about the ownership of the licensee or the exempted licensee. Then at the end, we need to look in the declaration as well. So ESR notification section A, and section A deals with the licensee detail. Simple, straightforward. They are asking licensee name as per the trade license. Does the licensee have a dual license? If the licensee has multiple licenses, then we need to mention the other name of the licensee as well. We need to mention the commercial license, trade license or permit number, licensing authority which has issued the commercial license, trade license or permit to the licensee. We need to mention that as well. Where primary or main regulatory authority, in case of dual licenses, then we need to look into this, which is the primary authority, which is the secondary. Where the licensee was awarded the license, first of all it will be considered primary or regulatory authority. Where the resources, premises, employees are working, it will be considered the primary regulatory authority. Place of establishment, where the licensee is established or registered. Registered office address given on the trade license, it will be considered registered office address. registered office, we need to mention the city as well, we need to mention the office country as well, we need to mention the legal form, might be sole proprietorship, might be LLC, might be public joint stock company. We need to mention the form of the licensee as well. Is the licensee registered for VAT purposes in UAE? Yes, in case the licensee is registered, then we will be required to provide the 15 digits VAT registration number. In B, this is a section B of the notification, and in this section B they are asking, we need to mention the relevant activity of the branches. Suppose there is one main entity A. This entity has multiple branches, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. In case this branch is earning any relevant income, then it will become part of the notification. If the branches are not earning any relevant income, then these branches will not become part of the notification. So in case branch is earning any relevant income, then we need to mention the relevant activity of the branch, then we need to mention the commercial or trade license number of the branch, and we need to mention the licensing authority which has issued trade license to the branch. ESR notification template, this is the reporting period. This is the section C of the notification. In our previous lecture, we had discussed that every licensee or the exempted licensee which are earning income from the relevant activity, their financial year commencing on or after 1st Jan 2019, they are required to submit the notification. And in our previous slide, we had discussed that notification required to be submitted within 6 months from the end of the relevant financial year. If the relevant financial year is starting from the 1st Jan and ending on 31st December 2019, then notification required to be submitted by 30th June 2020. There is a possibility that the financial year is ending after 31st December 2019. Assuming financial year is ending on 31st March 2020 or the financial year is ending on 30th June 2020. And in this situation, it has been very clearly given in the question and answer session that licensee is not compulsory required to submit the notification, but authority may allow to submit the notification to the licensee. This is not requirement under the ESR. No administrative penalties will be applicable in case the licensees are not submitting the notification. We discussed that licensee are required to submit the notification within 6 months from the relevant financial year. If the financial year is ending on 31st March, by 30th September will be the deadline. 30th June, then 31st December will be the deadline. If 30th September is the year end, then 31st March would be the deadline. If 31st December, then 30th June will be the deadline for submission of notification. This year, notification will be submitted hopefully in the first week of December 2020 related to the financial year ending 31st December 2019. This is an exceptional case, but in the future, we need to stick to the deadline which has been given on this slide. They have given this detail in the notification template. They said if the entity's financial year is starting from 1st Jan 2019 ending 31st December, it will be considered full year financial year. They will be required to submit the notification by 30th June 2020. The short period of accounts as well. Might be there the possibility that the financial year is starting from 1st October 2019 ending 31st March 2020, then only 6 months will be considered the relevant financial year or reporting year. The long financial year as well, might be there's a possibility that a financial year is starting 1st Jan 2019 and ending 31st March 2019. then 15 months will be considered the relevant financial year, first financial year reporting period. But in the future, a relevant financial period will be just 12 months, starting from 1st of April 2020 till 31st March 2021. A licensee incorporated on 1st July 2018 with the 30th June 2019 financial year would not be required to submit a notification for this period, because we have discussed that financial year commencing on or after 2019, licensee will be required to submit the notification. Here the financial year is starting from 1st July 2018, which is not the date after 1st Jan 2019. So for this period, licensee will not be required to submit the notification. But for the future period, the period will be starting from next period will be starting from 1st July 2019 till 30th June 2020. For this period, licensee will be required to submit the notification. In a summary, they have mentioned the reporting period is always the financial period preceding the financial period in which the notification is required to be submitted. We need to mention the start date of the relevant financial year, and we need to mention the end date of the relevant financial year for which notification is being submitted. Now we need to discuss the relevant activity. This is the section D of the related notification. In this section, we will be required to provide the relevant activity from which income is being generated, or the relevant activity which is being conducted by the licensee or the exempted licensee. Please indicate the relevant activities licensee carried out during the report financial period. Did the licensee earn any income from the relevant during the financial period, and what is the name of the regulatory authority? We need to provide the relevant activities conducted by the licensee. We need to provide if the licensee is generating any income from the relevant activity. This income will be considered a gross income, and it doesn't matter income is being earned from UAE or the income is being earned out of UAE. We need to report the gross income from the relevant activity. Then we need to mention the respective regulatory authorities as well. So the criteria based upon we will assess the licensee is conducting any relevant activity or not. We need to look into this relevant activity. There are 9 relevant activities. First is a banking business. If the licensee is accepting any deposits and licensee is giving any advances, loan, overdraft, guarantee, then it will be considered that the licensee is conducting banking business. In case licensee is accepting risk by carrying out a contract of insurance in both life and non-life insurance, then we'll say the licensee is conducting insurance business. Investment fund management services. If the licensee is providing discretionary investment management services, then it will be considered that the licensee is conducting investment fund management business. If the licensee is giving intra-group financing, licensee is making loan to related parties and unrelated parties, licensee is giving usually credit for a period more than 1 year, licensee is entering into the finance lease other than the land, licensee is providing in the form of hire purchase agreement, licensee has a cash pooling arrangement, any other type of financing arrangement against which licensee is getting consideration, then it will be considered that the licensee is carrying out lease finance business. If the licensee is providing services to foreign group company and the licensee is responsible for the overall success of the group and the overall group performance, then it will be considered that the licensee is conducting headquarter business. If the licensee is operating ships and licensee is providing the services related to rental or chartering of the ships, sale of tickets and similar documents, licensee is providing use maintenance or rental of containers, management of the crew of ships, then it will be considered that the licensee is conducting shipping business. If the licensee is conducting sole function, and this sole function is acquisition, holding of shares or equitable interest in other companies, and licensee is earning only income from the dividend and capital gain from this equitable interest, then we will say that licensee is conducting the holding company business. If the licensee is conducting any other activity along with this holding company business, then we need to look into this. This activity is a high risk IP business or non high risk IP business, then treatment will be based upon the any other relevant activity conducted by the licensee. If the licensee is conducting any intellectual property business, then we need to look at does the licensee has a right in the intangible assets, and licensee is earning separately identifiable income from the intellectual property asset. If these both of the conditions are being satisfied, then we'll say the licensee in the intellectual property business. But there is a possibility that is this intellectual property business might be a high risk intellectual property business, might be a normal intellectual property business. So said if the licensee has not created the intellectual property asset from which the licensee is earning separately identifiable income, then it will be considered that the licensee is conducting the high risk intellectual property business. If the licensee has acquired the asset from the connected person, or the licensee has acquired the asset from any other person by funding research and development out of UAE, then it will be considered that the licensee is in the high risk intellectual property business. We need to look into this, that the relevant activity is a high risk intellectual property business or this is a normal intellectual property business. At the end, there is distribution and service center business. In case of distribution business, if the licensee is importing goods from the foreign connected person and licensee is reselling such goods, it can be parts, it can be raw material, or it can be finished goods, then it will be considered that the licensee is in the distribution business. It doesn't matter goods are coming in UAE, goods are being stored in UAE, goods are being transported in UAE, it doesn't matter. If the licensee is buying, assuming licensee as a foreign connected person in China, licensee is buying from China and selling it to Africa, goods are not even coming in UAE, still it will be considered that the licensee is in the distribution of goods business. There is a possibility also is the licensee is providing services to a foreign group company. If the licensee is providing services to a foreign group company, then it will be considered that the licensee is in the service center business. It doesn't matter these services pertains to the businesses in UAE, might be the business is out of UAE, might be the business in UAE, it doesn't matter. We need to look into this. Licensee is providing any type of services to a foreign group company. If yes, then it will be considered that the licensee is in the service sector business. Once we have established this, that the licensee is conducting relevant activity, then we need to look into this licensee is earning any income from the relevant activity or not. But there are some exceptions for this. In our previous lecture, we have decided that these are the exceptions. If the licensee is an investment fund, it will not be subject to ESR. If the licensee is a tax resident in a jurisdiction other than UAE, it will not be subject to ESR. If the licensee is owned by resident UAE resident and this is not part of the M&E group, it only carry out business in a state, it will not be subject to ESR. We have discussed that if the licensee is a branch of a foreign company that earns relevant income which is subject to tax in a jurisdiction other than the state, other than UAE, it will not be subject to ESR. Any other licensee as determined pursuant to decision of Ministry of Finance, it will not be subject to ESR. Moreover, we discuss sole proprietors, trust, foundations are not subject to ESR. In the notification template, they have given a specific questionnaire based upon this definition of licensee. We need to highlight that the licensee is wholly owned by UAE national. This is the same thing we just discussed. UAE owned by the UAE national, not part of the M&E group, and only conduct the business in UAE. It will not be subject to ESR. Licensee is an investment fund. It will not be subject to ESR. The licensee is a special purpose vehicle which is helping to invest the funds. It will not be subject to ESR. The licensee is a resident for tax purposes in a jurisdiction out of UAE. It will not be subject to ESR. If the licensee is a UAE branch of a foreign company, and all income of UAE branch is subject to tax in the jurisdiction of a foreign company, it will not be subject to ESR. So these are the exceptions. There would have been sole proprietorship as well. There would have been trust. There would have been foundations as well, because these are not subject to ESR as well, but it has not been highlighted here. I believe it would have been part of these exemptions. Then we need to provide the ownership information as well. It has been covered in the section F of the respective notification. In the ownership information, they are asking information about the parent company, then ultimate parent company, then ultimate beneficial owner. All three different categories are falling under the ownership information. What is the parent company? They said the company of the which entity that directly holds a majority of the voting rights in the licensee, it will be considered parent company. Has the right to appoint or remove the director majority of the board of directors, it will be considered parent company. The company controls directly alone or with the joint arrangement with the shareholders and members, it will be considered that the licensee is a parent company. At the end, they said if the licensee directly has the right to exercise or actually exercising a dominant effect, influence, control over the licensee, then it will be considered a parent company. So we need to provide the name of the parent company, tax identification number of the parent company where the parent company is registered for tax purposes. We need to provide the address and country of residence of the parent company as well. We need to provide the information about the ultimate parent company as well. What is the ultimate parent company? Ultimate parent company is that the entity which is a part of the group and entity owns directly or indirectly a sufficient interest in the licensee and the exempted licensee, and this is required to prepare the consolidated financial statement, and any other company in the group is not required to prepare the consolidated financial statement. Then it will be considered that the licensee is an ultimate parent company. They said we will be required to provide the information about the ultimate parent company as well. We need to provide their name, we need to provide tax identification number, address and country of tax residence as well. We need to provide the third category is ultimate beneficial owner. Who is the ultimate beneficial owner? We need to provide the information about the ultimate beneficial owner as well. It has been very clearly written in the law that the person, the individual, this is not a natural, this is not a legal company, this is individual who owns directly or indirectly 25% or more of the share capital of the licensee, it will be considered ultimately beneficial owner. If there is one company, this company A is being owned by company B, then company B is owned by company C, then ultimately company C has natural person Mr. X, Y and Z. These X, Y and Z, these will be considered the ultimate beneficial owners. A and B, it will fall under the shareholder category of company A. We need to be careful regarding this. In the section G, which is dealing with the declaration, we need to provide the declaration. In this declaration, we need to provide the information about the person who have the authority to respond to the queries raised by the respective regulatory authorities. And we need to provide this their name, designation, phone and email address, and this person can be general manager, it can be licenses director, or it can be licenses compliance officer, or any other person which has the authority to reply to the queries, or which has the authority to provide further information and documents to the regulatory authority or national assessing authority. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully this would be beneficial for you. Have a lovely day. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for watching the video. Click on the bell and subscribe to the YouTube channel.